In recent years, the lamp story became absolutely viral, and when you actually hear the details about it, you will see why. It is absolutely mind-blowing, and if the story is real, then it will actually make you think that there has to be parallel universes out there that we can slip into. Just like the Steve Cantwell story that I had mentioned a few videos back. That video is about a guy called Steve Cantwell who took a hallucinogenic drug and went into another parallel life for 8 years. Yes, it's insane. And if you want to watch that video first, I will have a link up in, I think it's this corner here, the right side of the screen. Pretty sure that's it. Or I will have it at the end of this video if you just want to watch it after this one. So this story again is about a man who basically lived a whole entire life, 10 years, in another reality. Didn't even realize he was in that reality though until he woke up in this one and then realized everything that had happened. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, well, I am certainly going to tell you that I think we are living in a sophisticated simulation and your whole existence was picked out by you to live in this very moment right now. And I am a horror artist, and I like to draw what I talk about in these videos. Now I like scary facts, true crimes, anything to do with the paranormal, any of those kind of creepy stories and all that. And I like to draw, so I like to combine all of that into these videos to hopefully bring you a unique experience. If you want to support me, I do have a Redbubble store where you can get prints of these drawings if you like these drawings. I don't blame you if you don't. And I do have an Etsy store where I make felt toy patterns, so if you are a creative person, you can head across there, you can grab it, well, you can download a toy pattern and you can make it yourself. With all that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing. This story comes from Reddit by a user called Tempt2Tassoon, which has now been deleted, and no one knows the name of this guy that told this story, so for the story's purpose, let's call him David. David had met an awesome woman, we will call her Megan, which made his face flush and his heart skip a beat, and he pursued her for months before he finally won her over. David and Megan were together for 2 years before Megan gave birth to their first child, a daughter. David had an awesome job and Megan worked from home, so life was perfect, and was made even more perfect when another 2 years went by and Megan gave birth again to their son. Life was really good for David, and he would go into his kid's room each morning and absolutely admire his family. David thought life couldn't get any better, and he was right, because this is when it started to fall apart. David went to the lounge room and noticed the lamp sitting on the side table as he sat down on the couch. David was confused because the lamp just looked weird. It was a red and gold trimmed square base on 4 legs with a white square shade, but that day the lamp looked downright strange and inverted, way different than usual. David couldn't stop looking at it and stayed up all night just to stare at this lamp. David did not go to work the next day because he didn't sleep after looking at this lamp. David couldn't leave the lamp alone because it was changing shape and morphing into different sizes and shapes. The lamp started growing bigger, wider, and deeper with inverted dimensions. David watched the lamp for a further 3 days with only getting up to go to the bathroom, but this stopped happening as David just wouldn't eat or drink anything because he was just fixated on the lamp. Megan started getting extremely worried about David, so she got someone to come over and talk to David, but David's cognitive function was breaking down and scaring Megan. David was not getting better and would not do a single thing, so Megan packed up the kids and herself and left the home to go stay with her mother because she was getting terrified of David's behaviour. As David kept sitting there for days on end watching the lamp, it finally took up all of his perspective as it just grew so large that it just filled the room. Right now, David realized that what he was seeing was not real. His vision was just filled with red, and screaming and voices started to be heard as David woke up in absolute pain, lying on the sidewalk surrounded by people he didn't know. The company supporting my channel today is Down to Ground. They make grounding mats for sleeping and standing on, grounding sheets, pillowcases, and much more. If you are a shit sleeper, suffer from pain and inflammation in your body, and also get up several times a night to pee, then this product might be for you. These grounding tools can reduce anxiety, depression, and stress, heal wounds faster, improve blood flow and blood pressure, and rejuvenates your body to give you a more youthful appearance with improvements to your skin as the electrons act like an antioxidant. Also for us females, it can reduce PMS pain in just 6 weeks of using the mats. Gotta love that. If this sounds like something that you might be interested in, head over to downtoground.co using the links below. You will get 10% off your entire order. And if you are not happy with it, you can send it back for a full refund. Also, you get a free socket tester to make sure that your home is properly grounded for your mat to work, as it connects to the electrical socket but does not use electricity, just the grounding port, so you will not get electrocuted if it gets wet. It's natural, safe, and replicates the ions from the ground outside, which your body absorbs when you walk around barefoot. Enough about that, let's get back into the video. People were standing around David worried and panicking because David was in a bad way. He was bloodied and he was missing teeth. The cops were called and they managed to get him to a grassy area to check him over, and realised that he was confused and not in a good way, so police didn't wait for an ambulance. They put him into the back of the cop car and they drove him to hospital. Once at the hospital, David was given a CT scan on his head and made sure that everything was okay physically, but mentally, David would go through some of the hardest realizations of his life. David was in his last semester of college when a football player assaulted him because he was walking on the road where the footballer was trying to drive. David was left unconscious on the ground in the middle of the road after the beating. It was the head injury he suffered from the beating that plunged him into this alternate life for 10 years. Once David recovered, he went through 3 years of massive depression and grief because that life he had lived for 10 years felt so real. He grieved over the family he had and had now lost. David cried himself to sleep each night, and he would see Megan and his kids in his dreams each night, but knew that none of it was real. David even thought he was going crazy over the incident, and from time to time he would see his son in his peripheral vision randomly when going about his day-to-day life. David even tried to find Megan, but no one existed by that name in his real life. David went on to say that he got DMs from people with similar stories of going into parallel lives after suffering some sort of accident. One Reddit post is from Retcon, who talked about his friend, who he called Brian, having a similar event happen to him like David. Brian apparently lived in London in the UK. He was still a teen at the time, living with his parents, when he was walking down the apartment stairs where he lived, and all of a sudden he woke up on the floor of a bar. He had no idea how he got there because he was underage, but when he got up and walked outside, everything seemed to be exactly the same, but he was living in the US. He somehow just knew where he had to go to school and had friends like it was all normal, as just resuming his life, and had no idea that everything was off except for these sharp headaches that Brian would experience a lot, sometimes so bad that he couldn't sleep. But after 4 years of living this life, he all of a sudden had this urge to go back to the bar where he woke up in. During that 4 years, he got older and was now at drinking age, so when he got into the bar, he ordered a beer, but all of a sudden he was involved in a fight that ultimately saw him being hit in the head with a chair, and he woke up at the bottom of the stairs of his London apartment. Brian had fallen down the stairs and hit his head, which sent him into a parallel life. This would explain the sharp pains he got in the head from time to time in his 4 years in the alternate life, because it was coming through from the head injury in his real life. But Brian developed depression after the incident and still questions if this life is real. There are also cases of people that get into accidents, they know they've died, go down a weird tunnel, and then it's like they wake up and they are in the same spot but nothing is wrong. Some things have changed slightly that make one believe that they did die but they switched timelines to keep existing. Like, there's been cases of people who have had car accidents and they have caught just before the moment of impact on their dash cam, and then it goes completely black, and then when they come to and they look at that dash cam, they can see that they would have had a collision, but their car is completely fine, and all they have is the footage of the moment before it hits, but then the dash cam just completely goes black. So that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Like, it's a whole thing. So if you're willing to go down a rabbit hole with that type of stuff, knock yourself out, because it will do your head in. Other opinions on parallel universes is that we go to one in our dreams each night. Some people have dreams each night in the same locations, but just different events happening, or they dream of being in their own town, but things are slightly different, such as roads, houses, etc. There are a lot of ways you can look at this, and like I said before, if you want to do your head in, go for a dive down the rabbit hole and just blow your own mind. I am still actually trying to find a story that I heard many years ago, and I don't even know where I heard it. It's of a man that went to sleep one night for 8 hours and was transported to Mars as a soldier and mechanic worker for 20 years, but I cannot find it via Google. But if you know the story, please let me know and point me in the right direction. I just can't remember where I heard the story, but it always stuck in my head. Let me know if you have ever had anything weird like this happen to you or someone you know. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this one today, it's not my favourite. I don't know if I like it or not, but I just had this vision of a being sucked into an alternate reality, and they just looking at a lamp, like in the story, the main story for today, and he's just looking at the lamp and these eyes are popping out, and he's sort of materializing as well, because obviously the reality that he's in looking at this lamp is not real. And I really don't know if it was a good idea to get my Copic marker and colour the lamp in red. I don't think that was a good choice. And then I tried to do a bit of blood coming out of the eyes with the pen. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it to watercolour in future, because, I don't know what I'm doing with Copics or much of the alcohol marker range. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe, dislike it. I couldn't give two shits what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me. Hopefully you watch whatever is left of this video, and hopefully I see you guys in the next one. Bye.